Well, nothing witty is coming to my mind for the intro for the new Netflix movie Tragic Jungle. I guess we're just gonna have to dive in. Ooh, I do have snacks though. To escape an arranged marriage, a woman flees into the depths of the Mayan jungle, where untamed nature merges the human and the supernatural. So this drama is one that's gonna take a lot of patience to watch if you decide to check it out. And speaking of patience, if you are interested in a new munchie that I found, stay tuned at the end where I will talk about it. So the movie starts out with a very slow push into a tree with markings on it and eventually some narration. And this really sets the stage for the entire story. Everything we watch is slow and drawn out. I mean, there is a young woman who's being led through the jungle for an unknown reason. And honestly, if I hadn't read the synopsis, I'm not sure I ever would have known that she was escaping from an arranged marriage. The story takes place on the river in between Mexico and Belize, and the setting, I've got to say, is beautiful, if it's not daunting also. Now this movie has potential. I mean, we're watching characters on a journey as they tromp through the jungle, and there's three total groups that intersect at different times during the story. One group is the young woman who's running away, and then there are her pursuers, who include the man that she's supposed to marry. That group is a handful of guys who I'd liken to kind of hired thugs that do their employer's bidding no matter what it is. And the last group is a group of Mexican gum harvesters. They climb up in trees and get the sap or whatever it is that comes out that is then used to make chewing gum. Now they're kind of a sketchy group, and they're not made up of the greatest of humans. After a couple of horrific events in the jungle that happen to Agnes, and she's the woman who's running away, strange things happen to people in the groups. Now this is interesting. There's folklore at play here, and I really wish the story would have put a larger focus on this and then used the film to tell a better story about the folklore. The folklore that is touched upon here is the Shtabahi. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now I was unfamiliar, but it's a fantastical Yucatecan woman with just this long dark hair. She's dressed in white, and she's kind of like a mermaid, but not in the water. Now, had the movie placed more focus on the lore, especially for people who are unaware of it, this could make for a very rich and exciting story. What we get is an extremely slow trudge through the jungle with barely any dialogue. Now, like I said, the scenery itself is beautiful, but it's not enough to save the narrative from monotony. And while the chase is meant to be part of the story driver, there's no tension, urgency, or even really riskiness to the actions that take place. At one point, Agnes comes in contact with the gum harvesters, and she begins to travel with them. There's a lot of brooding looks, and to the story's credit, some anxiety or just even uncomfortableness is built during some of these scenes thanks to some of the farmers being so sketchy. And I found this very hard to engage with. I mean, I can enjoy slower movies and movies where dialogue is sparse, but in those times the story is so compelling that I can't tear myself away. During this, I was struggling to care. And that's a bummer because I really think there is a good story in here someplace. The overall tone of the story is dark. I mean, there's an oppressiveness to the actions of some characters, and it's made even darker by just the thick jungle. And I like how the jungle could have become a central figure within the story. But because the story never fully developed, the jungle remained mostly just a setting. Now, through the tedium of our characters trudging on their really long walk, there were moments that provided intrigue. There was this visual that I thought was pretty well executed, and it just worked to reinforce the folklore without blatantly pointing it out. And we understand from the title of the movie, Tragic Jungle, that this probably won't be all cheery and smiles. The title hints that something less than awesome is going to take place there. And I liked the consequences to actions that are shown within the story. And that's probably the most redeeming portion of the entire thing. Actions have consequences, and they may not come how you expect them. And the jungle may be a bit like Vegas, and what happens there stays there, but in a much, much darker way. So overall, this could have been a really interesting story that was told in a compelling way. But what we get is an ultra-slow visual of people just wandering through the jungle with some very brief moments of intrigue. This is probably one of the longest 96-minute long movies I've ever watched. If you asked my body, it would have said that the movie was 2.5 hours long. The potential for rich storytelling really is there, but the story chooses to tell it in one of the slowest ways possible. And it never really allows the characters to blossom and then become wholly interesting. So if you are all hopped up on caffeine or in the need of something to bring you down a bit, this could be the thing to watch. Otherwise, I don't think I'd make it a priority to check it out. Okay, so before I give my rating, I wanted to tell you about this new munchie I tried. And thanks to Alexander for giving me this recommendation. These are key lime pie Kit Kats. I don't know if it focuses, but I got these at Walmart, but you may be able to get them wherever you normally shop. I mean, at least, in the US. Now, in all honesty, I'm not really a huge Kit Kat fan, but I do like lime a lot, so this one had me very intrigued and honestly a little bit nervous. Now, I've already tried it, and it's surprisingly good. The lime flavor is certainly there, but it's not so overpowering or tart that it makes eating this painful. I mean, even look, the green is tamed. And I imagined it would be some fluorescent looking bright green, but it's subdued and pleasing, kind of like the flavor. Now, I wouldn't grab these all the time or even eat the whole pack in one sitting like I'm prone to do with most snacks, but I certainly wouldn't turn one down if you offered it to me. Thanks, Alexander, for sharing your find with me. I appreciate it. Now, for Tragic Jungle, there is sex, some nudity, a little profanity, and a bunch of violence, including sexual violence. I give Tragic Jungle 2 out of 5 couches. So what are you binging right now? I'd love to know what you're watching in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. These really are pretty good. Key lime, I don't know if it focuses or not, but pick it up if you like lime or Kit Kats or just need sugar.